would I ever have gotten to the same position I got into without you? No, but would I have ever made it far enough to actually see some level of success? Probably not. So I probably would have ended up one of the statistics, if I had to imagine.
If I'm gonna be more than, then that means that I also have more to contribute. I have more. So everyone out there, what's your potential? And if you can't see what that potential is, you have to try to work on developing whatever that is. I mean, I think you can see it more than you used to. I just don't know if you know the difference.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. Today, for episode number 1882, if you feel comfortable doing this, your self-improvement is working. Alan and I are recording this on 9:15 on a Saturday, and I am jazzed. I was like super excited to record these today.
Were you really?
Yeah. I got up at 6. I went to the gym. I did legs. Taryn's gone for the day, so it doesn't, I'm home alone with the cats. Fudge had a hairball and threw up on my bed in the middle of the night, 3:30.
Oof.
Couldn't fall back asleep. I thought he was choking, so I nearly had a panic attack. Just a giant furball.
Yeah,
Shout out to my dude.
Someone
I know the kitty Heimlich. I've researched it.
Have you really?
100%.
That's what Kev does. Every time he has a fear, he researches it.
If I know how to fix, if I feel like I have some say in the problem, I don't feel like the problem is as bad.
It's a good episode right there.
Could be delusional, though.
Speaking of hair, I have a hair.
He has a hairball in his eyeball.
I'm a mess, everybody. It's all good. Messy action.
First thing Alan said when we logged on, he said, "I'm cracking like a walnut." I said, "Yeah, no, it's all good. I'm going to carry us through. I have positive attitude, positive vibes." All right. If you feel comfortable doing this, your self-improvement is working. I had a coaching call the other day, and essentially what I was talking about was authenticity. And I said, it's taken me a long time to get to the place where I am today, where I feel like I can really be the most authentic version of myself. What do you need, man? What do you need?
Whenever I am smiling, for those of you who are only audio, Kev always can see it and is curious as to why.
I usually assume I'm doing something wrong.
No, that's not the truth. Naturally. I was thinking, what if I made a joke and just pretend to fall asleep on the episode?
I would literally just take you off the screen and I'd power right on through. This would be a solo episode pretty quick. Don't worry about it.
You'd mute me.
Give me a second, friends. We're gonna get Alan out of the room here. We're gonna wheel him out of the room. We'll be right back with you. So I was on a call and I was talking about authenticity, and somebody said, "How have you gotten to the place where you feel like you can be the most authentic version of yourself?" And they said, "What are some measurements that you've gotten there?" And I said, 1, I'm really focused on improving the pieces of me, not necessarily replacing the pieces of me. That's 1. It's self-improvement, not self-replacement. Self-improvement, right? Nice. Personal development, not personal abandonment. You're not abandoning yourself. You're leveling yourself up. So that's 1. And then I said the second thing, honestly, is I am at the stage now where if I don't know the answer to something, I just say it. And when I'm wrong, I try to admit I was wrong as fast as humanly possible. Not just in a relationship, not just with my wife, but with the team, with Alan, with myself. I just feel like if you're really working on your self-improvement and you're getting to the stage where you feel like you can say, you know what, Alan, you're right, brother, I was wrong on that. That means you're maturing as a human. It means you're probably building self-belief. It could take self-belief to admit you're wrong. I think it takes self-belief to have humility. That's a new wrinkle for me. I think it takes a certain amount of self-belief to actually have humility.
A new wrinkle.
And I think you're probably also improving your self-worth. So I would say that's a really good measurement for whether or not your self-improvement is working. Obviously, the person that you're taking ownership with and admitting you're wrong to, that is obviously important too. But I aspire to get to the place where I can do that with anyone. That's really the goal. Will I always want to do it? I don't know. But that was my thought for today's episode. I think that's a really good measurement because, I don't know, if maybe we could do an episode in the future, the top 5 ways to know your self-improvement is working. This would be one that I would add in there for sure.
I think a lot of the things that we think are cred hits are actually cred builders. So, humility, courage, vulnerability are the three things that I think are necessary for transformation. We've talked about that in the past. When people are vulnerable, not always, but when you're honest about struggles, I think that that's a cred build for most people, not a cred hit. I think a lot of what we think, a lot of what we're afraid of is not valid. Some of it is. What's a good example of this so that I'm not just theorizing? So if Kev were to make a really dumb business decision,
which it's never happened. He's saying hypothetically. I've never made one bad, wrong business decision ever.
But
it's purely hypothetical.
So even that, picture a version of Kev that was so insecure.
Yeah, that was serious.
He couldn't actually. Yeah, that's funny because it's so.
Because I've made so many.
Right.
That's why. The only reason it's funny is because I've made so many, and I know I've made so many, and I've admitted I've made so many. That's the only reason it's funny.
So, insecure younger Kev would be afraid to admit that. That would be a cred hit for me. Someone who can't admit they suck is like such a big cred hit. But I think people think that admitting you suck is a cred hit. And I don't mean you suck as a person. I just
when
mean
you say cred hit,
something.
what's your definition of cred hit? Just so people know.
One time someone we both knew, who I knew would be a multimillionaire eventually. They started investing very young. And we calculated the math, and with an average rate of return, they'd be a multimillionaire. And they drove a Toyota with paint chipping off the car. And Kev said, most people assume that she's broke. And I said, well, the truth is that's a cred build for me, meaning I'm so impressed. To drive a Toyota by choice with paint chipping off it, that's such a big indicator that you're going to win. Whereas most people would consider that a cred hit, I guess, and that's what you considered it, maybe. You didn't, but in the context of someone who likes nice cars, you understand why people think that.
Well, it's been the thought for me is if you're a real estate agent, you pull up in a car that's barely running versus somebody who pulls up in a really nice new car, psychologically, you're going to most likely work with a person who has the nicer car because it suggests that they know better, even if they don't. Like, they could have rented that car on the way over to see you, but it's just psychological.
100%. And I now understand that completely. I never used to think that because I would always go beneath the iceberg. But I think a cred hit is something that someone's perception of you is decreased. I take cred hits all the time, and I don't know it because you've helped me understand the way that's going to come off. So certain things that I think I used to say, I want self-improvement to spread like COVID. And Kev said, don't say that. And in my head as an engineer, I'm an engineer, it's why wouldn't that's perfect. That would be great if that happened, right? Self-improvement 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128. And Kev said, well, it comes off as insensitive. And I stopped saying that because now I understand that the principle is the exact same, but anyone who was negatively affected by COVID, it seems like I don't care about that, I guess. It still doesn't make any sense to me. Mm-hmm. But now that I can say I'm an engineer, I can just say stuff like that's cool. Because people know, like, listen, it's not.
Well, you don't mean it you don't mean it in that way.
What I could say is I want self-improvement to spread exponentially, but no one knows COVID. They understand how quickly that spread and how scary that was. I feel like it's something they can relate to, but it's a negative experience. So therefore people, I was taking a cred hit when I was saying that. So you helped me understand that. And to your point earlier, which I thought was really powerful, is what did you say? You improve yourself. Don't abandon yourself.
Yeah. Don't abandon yourself. It's self-improvement, not self-abandonment. You're not trading in yourself. You're just improving the pieces of you that need to be improved, which is a positive thing.
This is a perfect example. I am the type of person who thinks that. I do think self-improvement spreading like COVID would be a wonderful thing for the world. But am I abandoning myself by adjusting the way I say it? So now the way I say it is COVID spread exponentially. That's why it was so scary. It was 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512. I want that same thing to happen with self-improvement. That's the way I say it now, so it lands better. So it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. It really is alarming. You have to have the right intention, you have to say it in the right way, and it has to have the right impact. It's very difficult what we do. I think it's underestimated.
Being authentic is really hard because if you are going to be you... So, okay, let's use my example as an example. Say I'm on a podcast. I was on a podcast. Shout out to Philip. Philip has been working with us for, I don't even know, a couple of years. Great dude, big podcast, awesome human. And I was on his podcast the other day, yesterday. And there were a couple questions where he asked me, and I said, honestly, it's the same answer I just gave you. It's like kind of the same thing. It's the sexy fundamentals that don't seem like they matter, but they matter a ton.
The unsexy.
The unsexy fundamentals that don't seem to matter, but matter a ton. Yeah, thank you. And I was afraid to say that because some of the audience might say, well, Kev doesn't know. He doesn't know the answer. That's why he said the same thing.
Do you think that's true? Is that true?
I think there will be I think there will be some people. I don't think it'll be the vast majority, but I think there'll be a couple people who are like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And
I think the more aware people in the audience, metaphorically in this, would consider that a cred build. That your perception would go up.
I agree.
When people take ownership and people admit they don't know and people say it's kind of the same answer, to me, that's you actually know. That's really smart, actually.
Yeah.
Because it is the same answer. But I think most people, you might be right, a lot of people, not most people, but a lot of people consider that maybe a cred hit.
We were talking about this with the meetup. We did a meetup on Thursday, and it went really well, and we thought we did a really good job, and obviously there's always room for improvement. And in the post call, we were talking about how do we think it's a cred build or a cred hit, how honest we are with... Like, there was one time we did it, and there was a spelling error. And we literally just laughed at ourselves and said, well, that's messy action in real life. Like, that's what it looks like. Sometimes we spell shit wrong, and we didn't catch it because we didn't have enough time, and that's on us.
We talked about why more people don't do that. Okay, for example, me saying I'm a mess at the beginning of this, is that a cred hit or a cred build? I'm not actually a mess. I'm just a mess in comparison to...
Right.
That's one of the problems with this is it's almost like, do you have to always err on the high side of perception? What an exhausting life that would be.
When one of the things that I've always tried to make sure, one of the reasons that I've tried to make sure we get off here on time when you have another call is being late is a perception hit. Almost every time. When you show up late, you're starting from behind.
Yeah.
You just are. So I'm always trying to help you avoid that because
for me, it's not. When people are honest that they're struggling, I'm just, it's okay. I understand.
Yeah.
No one's perfect.
Yeah, but you're very understanding.
Trying to pretend that you're perfect, I think, is the dumbest shit ever. I really do. I think
agree.
a lot of people are pretending they're hiding. They're hiding the truth. I love working with people who are honest about how much of a mess they are. And you know what's ironic, and this is a different episode probably, the people who say, yeah, no, I'm a complete disaster, they're actually dialed in.
Yeah, usually.
The people who are pretending to be perfect are usually a disaster.
Well, just think about the standards. If you have a standard that allows you to think that you're perfect, your standard, either you are 1% of 1% of 1% of 1%, or your standards are fairly low and easy to hit.
Can we go into that briefly?
Yeah. Do you have a good? I don't know if I have a good example off the top of my head.
Hello, NLU listener. Thank you, as always, for listening to Next Level University. Real quick, I just want to jump in and let you know about the Next Level Dreamliner. This is a journal that I use every single day. Achieve your dreams 90 days at a time. It breaks down your dreams into goals, milestones, and daily habits. We hope you enjoy it. The link will be in the show notes. Amy and I were talking yesterday. Shout out to Amy Lenius. I want to make sure not everyone knows Amy, right? So Amy Lenius, but I also want to make sure that it's cool that I share this. She doesn't mind. We were talking about we are comparing to our potential. So compared to what I know I'm capable of, I'm a disaster right now. But compared to if I actually compared to other people, I'm an engineer. This is going to come off probably wrong. If I compare to the statistical norm, I'm the most dialed in. I'm very dialed in.
For sure.
I don't ever compare to the statistical norm, ever. And here's why. I want to make this as clear as possible. The goal requires that I don't. If you have goals and dreams that are above the statistical norm, you can't compare to the statistical norm and then feel pumped about it. You have to, the higher your goals, the higher your standards have to be. I can't be pumped about decent when I'm going for a goal that is really high. And this goes for health, wealth, and love. So everyone out there, a good little subset here is, do you compare to your potential or do you compare to average?
I don't know how somebody accurately knows their potential. I'm very honest when I say I've made it further than I thought. I'm a better speaker than I thought I would be.
Well, you used to not think much of yourself and much of your potential.
Fair.
Okay.
What gave you that?
What do you think now?
What gave you that inclination?
You being honest. My favorite thing about Kev, like two things. One, came from very, 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 very humble beginnings. That's all I can say about that. Number two, so you made something out of what could have been absolutely nothing. My favorite part. Absolutely. And number two is you're just so freaking honest about the stuff no one talks about.
I've always thought that it's worth it. I said this very early in the journey. I said, I know some of the stuff I say, and again, this for me, it's not like, okay, this is my excuse so I can say toxic stuff. I don't mean it that way. Some people will slap me on one cheek, but I do believe there'll be more people that kiss me on the other. I think some people will not like what I say, but I believe what I say will help more people than the people that try to hurt me because of it. That's always been I'm always thinking about that. Like, am I scared to say this? And usually I'm not. Usually I'm not scared to say stuff about me. Because I just think, I believe that most people aspire to get to the place where they can just be honest about their shortcomings and their insecurities and their fears and their mistakes. I think most people aspire to get to that place.
Yeah.
We just have a lot of
you're
practice.
Free from the shame of it. It means you're free from shame, essentially. Because when you
More
are afraid, when you're hiding things about yourself, you're usually fearful. There's some form of shame attached to it. Usually, not always. Kev would, the old, immature, less mature version of Kev would lower or want to be perceived as more. I genuinely stopped wanting to share the 2.5 years of exercise. I don't want to share it anymore.
Yeah,
have you
shared
noticed?
it less, yeah, for sure.
Okay, the reason why is because it disconnects me from other people. And I don't like that. But what's paradoxical and ironic, I guess would be the word. I think I'm supposed to be. I had a person yesterday tell me, I don't coach with you because you're regular. I coach with you because you're not. I don't want a regular coach. And I think that my fear is that I'm too different.
Too much,
yeah. And so all of us, your quote is, all of us are afraid we're either not enough, and so we don't want to admit that we're messy and we suck and we blah, 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 or that we're too much, so I have no problem admitting that I suck. What's really hard to say is that I'm brilliant and really dialed in. Even that I couldn't say in the past without shrinking.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I don't want to make this about me, but we started down, you said you didn't think of yourself very highly in the beginning. Because I said, for me, I think I've made it further. I've genuinely made it further than I thought I would. In terms of all this.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you had a segment for that. I just want to make sure we didn't miss anything.
When you said you don't know, and again, we're going off topic here a little bit, but I think that's important. I've also gotten a ton of feedback lately that people love when we do that. They loved the dinosaur thing and all that.
Nice.
Cool. Which again is us being comfortable being ourselves, right? We don't have to, these are the 3 steps to... So when it comes to me, I always am comparing to my potential, and even that comes off as pretentious, whatever. That's what I'm doing 24/7, 365. It's really what I help people with, is reach their potential. If you don't want to reach your potential, you're probably not going to like me very much. I think people will enjoy me to the extent they want to reach their potential. That's what I've got it boiled down to.
It's fair.
And probably vice versa, to be honest. So it is, be who you are, whatever you are, be a good one. For you, you said, I don't know what my potential is. I think you do more than you used to, man.
I don't have a very clear picture of it. I almost look at it as like segments. It's like I don't have a very clear picture. I don't have a very clear visualization. I almost think of what it'll feel like more than what it'll be.
So remember when I forget what book it was, but you said they hooked people up. They did fMRI scans of different brains, and some people.
Yeah, I don't even remember. I was listening to Blinkist back then. Blinkist breaks books into like 15-minute segments. Awesome, great hack. I have no idea what book it was, but yes, they hooked people up to fMRI machines, and they essentially said, try to imagine yourself, I think in 5 years.
I think it was 10, but maybe I made that up.
I don't remember the exact, but the visualization they had of themselves in the future was a completely different person. Like it was almost, it was like almost impossible for them to imagine themselves however long into the future. Again, I really wish I remembered the book. I've never remembered the book because I was just hammering through 15-minute segments of books, and I could never figure out which one it was.
Do you, in the beginning back then, when this was episode 400 or whatever, you said I would be the person who could only envision a stranger. You would be the person who could see yourself in 10 years.
Yes.
I feel like I can picture it. I can close my eyes and I can see exactly what I'm going to look like.
See,
now, again, it's
rare.
a future potentiality. It's not like guaranteed. It's if. What's a good example? So everyone think about what you're getting for dinner tonight. Okay, that's only going to happen. You're only going to manifest, quote unquote, that if you do X, Y, Z. These things, get in your car, have the right credit card, go to the right place, get the right food, know how to get the order right, okay. That's the exact same principle, just with a bigger time perspective.
Yeah.
And so I can picture a bunch of future potentialities. I can picture a bunch of versions of myself. And that's why it's so hard to hang out, because I can see my future self getting worse every time I'm hanging out. Because, like, for example, this morning you said, dude, you're redlining, do you need a break? And it's, dude, I can't. I don't know how to explain it, but trust me, my future self says no. Kevin's wrong.
I'm glad I don't have that.
Oh, it's alarming.
I am.
It's
like
brutal.
I am glad I don't have that.
But
I know
comes with some great things.
I know
it does come with some great things.
You will be more than I will be.
Which will come with some things that are wonderful, and then other things but the responsibility piece is.
Yeah.
That's why I know we're getting off topic here, but. Real quick, parents are responsible more than infants. It's, if something bad happens to a 3-year-old, it's the parent's fault more than it's the child's fault.
Right.
Why? Because the parent was more than.
Yeah. Well, they more
To whom much is given, much is tested. That quote is very powerful. If I'm going to be more than, then that means that I also have more to contribute. I have more. So everyone out there, what's your potential? And if you can't see what that potential is, you have to try to work on developing whatever that is. I mean, I think you can see it more than you used to. I just don't know if you know the difference.
I think I can feel it more than I used to. For me, it's about experiencing it. When I experience something, again, I use the Evan speech a lot because that's like a dream come true. I mean, I got invited to speak by one of the top speakers in our space. It's like weird. And it went better than I expected. I can do that now. Done. And now I can do that.
What else can you do?
The next thing like that I don't think I can do.
Which is
most likely. I don't know yet. Probably like a speech in front of 5,000 people. Like I feel like I'm ready for that.
Nice.
I feel like I'm ready for that. But then again, who knows what happens, right? I go do it. Maybe it goes a little bit worse than I thought. But at least now I have the belief to know, like, it's not the end of the world. This is where we went wrong. I was going to say something.
That has to be the fundamental. It's scary to share this, but that's the fundamental reason why I'm different, for sure. It has to
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
You're somebody who wins at almost everything you do, and it's not just because you have gifts that other people don't. It's just that you just won't stop. Like there's something to that. And I had never I'd never met someone like that until I met you, where it's just like, it almost doesn't even matter what happens. Like, we're just going to do it again tomorrow. And you kind of can't lose when you do that for long enough, as long as you're focused on improvement. And that's the differentiator, is I would have quit. I'm telling you, I would have quit. Most likely, because then again, the question is, would I ever have gotten to the same position I got into without you? No, but would I have ever made it far enough to actually see some level of success? Probably not. So I probably would have ended up one of the statistics if I had to imagine.
My thesis is you would have had way more people. You would have reached a lot more people in a smaller business way.
Yeah.
I think that I'm good at business more than I'm good at reaching and talking to.
Well, it makes sense.
People. Yeah.
The gifts that you have.
Yep. Come with downsides.
They come with downsides.
They come with huge downsides. Yeah. Being unrelatable and not understanding why I come off a certain way, and yeah. But I'm learning that. I feel much better about it than I used to. I used to why? Kevin would say, "Dude, that's never gonna land," and I'd be like, "What? Why?" It's.
Mm.
And then you read Algorithms to Live By, and you're like, "Oh,
yeah.
Okay, yeah."
Terrible book, boring as hell, very valuable, super valuable. It's
valuable book.
How many copies? I wonder how many copies of that book was sold. Probably not that many.
Not that many. You could look it up. But
so last thing I'll say before we get out of here. If when I said Alan will be more than me, you retracted and said, Kev, you're talking badly about yourself, that's just the level of honesty that I want to have. That is the truth. I'm going to be very capable, and I'm going to be wonderful, and I'm going to be a great speaker, and I'm going to be successful and fulfilled and blah, 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 blah. Awesome. But Alan is more capable than I am, and he has more gifts than I do, and he will be more than me. And that's okay. Holistically, he will be more than me. He thinks he's going to be in better shape than I do. I'm scared, because he's kind of reverse engineering it, but I'm hoping my genetics will pay off. And the fact that although my father abandoned me, he had really good genetics, and that's something I did get. I never got the love of my father, but I did get the genetics of him. Did you find out how many copies it sold? We gotta pop on out of here.
It said, while there's no exact public figure for the total number of copies sold for Algorithms to Live By, it is considered a bestseller, reaching high ranks on sales charts and achieving significant popularity, particularly in the science and technology book categories. However, the precise sales figures remain unavailable.
Well, damn. Everybody knows that the top charts, the best-selling, depending on where it is, mean close to nothing. So, but I'm sure that was like New York Times and the real bestsellers. So
it was a great book.
It was a great book. If you're ready to dive into some material that is boring as hell but hyper valuable, Algorithms to Live By. Again, not the best shining endorsement, but it's super valuable. Super valuable book. All right, Alan is taking on clients still. If you have not experienced a free 30-minute business breakthrough session, we'll have the link in the show notes. It's not you signing up to work with Alan. It's you quite literally saying, I'd love to have a 30-minute business breakthrough session, get to know you, see what it's like. No matter what, you're going to learn something. You will take something away for certain. I guarantee that. And Alan's not going to try to sell you on anything. If it is aligned and it sounds good, awesome. If not, we appreciate you and you're the best still, no matter what. And as always, we have Next Level Nation, a free Facebook group for people trying to get to the next level. So if you listen to this podcast and you're looking for a deeper community, Next Level Nation is the place. We will have the link in the show notes, as always. We love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We'll talk to you all tomorrow.
Keep being authentic. Next Level Nation.